All right, here's the scenario. You're miles from any fire department, you're off grid, and now a wildfire is approaching the area where your cabin is. Waiting for help's not an option. If you want to stick around, I'm going to show you how I made a permanent solution for fire protection for my cabin. Having a cabin by a lake is of course, a dream, but with the dense forest totally surrounding you, and with our climate change and the significant amount of fire danger that's now happening, being able to have some defense for that fire is one of the prime concerns out here for most people with those type of properties. Traditional firefighting depends on firefighters, hydrants, good water supply. Being out of the cabin with none of that is not an option, so you got to come up with your own solutions. So you got to be a little creative when you're out here on your own on the lake. You got to be reliant on yourself and your neighbors, possibly. Thing I'm going to show you today is how to set up the system. It's not designed to extinguish the fire. That's one key thing you need to think about, is that that's just not going to happen. There's no way you are going to extinguish a wildfire and fight it off while you're here. So the system that I've come up with has to do with creating what's called a humidity dome for around your cabin. The idea is that this system will turn on in the hours prior to the wildfire arriving. And what this does is create this whole moisture area around your cabin that's going to prevent the cabin itself from being lit on fire. And what it does, it's not going to, like I say, put out the fire. That when these wildfires come, they generally come at a very high speed, and they come over very fast. And so what's going to happen is when that fire comes up and over, if you have this humidity dome, there's a good possibility you're going to be able to save a large chunk of your properties. In 2015, our cabin was threatened by wildfire, and started off as a small wildfire. And because it was so early in the season, the very beginning of May when it struck, it was almost catching everybody by our off guard, so that most of the fire crews and equipment weren't ready. By the time they started fighting that blaze, it had grown so much that they could no longer control it. That fire spread to almost 70,000 hectares by the time it was actually finally in control and put out. And what happened during that time is the fire crews came along the entire length of the lake and laid out fire hose and sprinkler systems. And when I was there, I asked them specifically, I said, there's no way this is going to put out the fire. And they explained to me that it's not designed to put the fire out. It's designed to create a humidity dome around your property. That's when the fire comes through, it's actually going to be able to keep things from being set on fire as that fire pushes over top. Most of the time, fires that come through during wildfires are the areas that are lit around structures, are generally from the falling debris or the embers that are flown through the air by the winds in onto those areas of the properties. And so by creating that humidity dome, it's going to greatly reduce the ability to have those embers start things on fire. As well, you need to be fire conscious if you can when you're building your place or you're renovating your place, to have fire retardant materials, especially out here. If you have a shake shingle roof, that's one of the worst things obviously you can have. I've got a tin roof, I've got hardy plank siding, I've got very little grass or brush around the base of my cabin, and all the areas where trees and branches are cut back or are cut up higher up on the trees to prevent embers from being caught underneath the trees. So here's the main inlet of the system. Most forestry wildfire protection units don't utilize this sort of cam lock system. What they have is this type of a twist lock system. So I've created these adapters because my system's all built with cam locks, but I wanted them to be able to tie into it if they want to. So I've added these into my system so that they can be pushed into here. They can tie their own hoses into it, and then off they go. This one branches off. My top line here is this is the one here that's going to go up to the roof of my cabin. And then this one is going to supply a second line that's going to go up to my garage. So this is the second system coming up to my garage. So it's coming from my lower cabin. Show you. down here. The line's going to come up, hit into here, and go up. I should be able to feed both sets of sprinklers, the ones on the garage as well as the ones on the cabin, just off the one lines. And here I've got an adjustment system here where I can throttle this back if I need to, if I need more pressure on one of the others, depending on what's happening. So I test these systems every year in the spring at this when fire season starts to make sure things are going to go. All the systems are properly sloped so that when I disconnect the main hoses, everything drains back and is pre-winterized, basically. So let's go see the system in action, and I'll do some more explaining on how things are put together. There you have it, guys. That is our fire protection system for our off-grid cabin. Again, it's not a replacement for fire mitigation around your cabin, all that brush clearing and all those other things. But it is a good insurance policy, and it is a good last line of defense. So tell me what you think about that. If you guys can do something like this for your cabin, or you've got some improvement that I could do, that'd be great. Put it in the comments down below. I will put links in the description for some of the parts and pieces that I used if I can find them for you. And if you got any questions or comments, go ahead and leave those down below. Otherwise, like, subscribe, do all those other things, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.